This is going to go to a jury. And in truth, I don't know if you can find a group of people in America, if you get a reasonable group that doesn't have one person who would say Trump can shoot someone in broad daylight and do no wrong. And so, I think that pundits actually need to be very cautious of stirring the pot. And so I do think you're right. There are some on other networks who are saying, oh, my God, this is fantastic. We've got him. It's all solved. And it's not. It's going to a trial.
And just to add to that point of Johanna's, Leland, one scenario, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but one scenario that we haven't...
we still have another 20 minutes.
Well, then I'll plunge on into the future. What in a scenario where Mr. Trump is found not guilty in these cases?
Exactly.
Then what happens?
Yeah, no, look,
politically.
and I think that's what we sort of brought up. The idea is that, that when the indictment is the starter's gun. This is the beginning, not the end. And, Will, I think that's a fascinating question to pose to you, which is, how do you get a jury of 12 people in southern Florida who go, no, never heard of Donald Trump, got no opinion whatsoever of the guy?
Yeah, the voir dire process is supposed to result in an unbiased jury. Certainly a lot of the public statements that have been made by Democrat office holders, by some of Donald Trump's political opponents, will make that tougher, as will, on the other side, statements made by President Trump's supporters. So for both the defense and the prosecution, voir dire, if it comes to that, and selecting a jury is going to be a difficult process. But you have cases, high-profile public cases like this all the time, all over America, where you have issues with biased jury pools, and our system is supposed to be able to address that.
Yeah, and at some point, I can't imagine a more high-profile trial than a former president, I guess with the exception maybe of O.J.?
Well,
I'll say this, Leland.
Coverage.
In my experience, jurors tend to be pretty able to focus on the facts in front of them, focus on what's been alleged and the evidence that's been introduced. We've seen a lot of high-profile jury trials in the last couple years. You think back to Kyle Rittenhouse and cases like that that had similar blanket wall-to-wall coverage, where I think juries did a very good job of discerning what the real facts were based just on the evidence presented in court. And that's an important point when you think about the indictment that's been filed. The special counsel's team is going to have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt everything that they've alleged. And that standard, beyond a reasonable doubt, it's a cornerstone of our legal system. It can be a challenging standard to meet, even in the best of times. I think we've only heard the first act of this case, and I think the second and third acts are likely to be a lot more favorable to the president than the first has been.
Well, it's important to point out that the jury may not hear, at least if the president's lawyers have their way, the jury inside this courthouse in Miami, whenever that occurs, may not hear everything that's in the indictment. There's a lot that may be thrown out. There conceivably, and I bring Christy in on this, conceivably, and just based on the way we read the indictment, Jack Smith likely put in everything that he had. It would be hard to imagine that there's an ace in the hole that he's held out, and therefore he's having his case picked apart by the media, only to, in a couple of months, go, oh, by the way.
So I actually think it's the opposite. There's been public reporting on this, and it's what I would suspect to be the case anyway, that there is a lot more that is not in this indictment. That he really was looking to focus on things that would not necessarily be coming from human sources, but really coming from, evidence that was in the form of, that's incontrovertible, things like photographs, things like surveillance footage, things that are much more concrete. We know he and his team have interviewed pretty much everybody that works at Mar-a-Lago. They have put in the grand jury various national security advisors and former White House officials. Those statements are not in this indictment, but it is surely part of the evidence that was relied upon in securing an indictment. So I expect we will see much more in the way of evidence as this case goes forward.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.